Grab your DC memorabilia and take a seat, because it's time for our review of Injustice 2. What is up, YouTube? My name is Justin, this is the Den of Nerds, and this is our review of Injustice 2. When we last left off at the end of the first Injustice, the evil Superman had finally been defeated by Batman and his trusty band of renegades from another universe. Picking up where the first game left off, we find Batman struggling to rebuild a shattered world left in the wake of Superman. Several of Supes' former cronies, the Flash and Green Lantern, work to reform. Harley Quinn is free of the Joker and has taken on the mantle of a pseudo-Robin. And Wonder Woman and Black Adam menacingly plot to free Superman with the help of their secret weapon, Supergirl. And this is all while a threat from Supergirl's past careened towards Earth to take the Man of Steel for himself. A threat known as Brainiac. Injustice 2's story is incredibly well written, if somewhat predictable. We all knew there was going to be some sort of coming together to face a common threat between Batman's group and the remnants of Superman's regime. But the way that plays out through Injustice 2's excellent story mode is very intriguing to watch. You can tell that these writers studied these characters and have a deep respect for them and their lore. Harley constantly makes quips and is a little unhinged. Batman is serious and keeps himself distant emotionally. The things you learn about these characters in the story mode of Injustice 2 are presented in such a way that you don't actually need knowledge of the comics to understand these characters. The story gives you all you need to know right there. The standout character is easily Supergirl. Watching her both learn what her cousin has done and come to terms with it over the course of the story cemented her as quite possibly my favorite character in Injustice lore, and I really hope she returns for a sequel. The final showdown between Batman and Superman is just as bombastic as one could hope it would be as well, and allowing players to play both sides of the conflict was an excellent move on NetherRealm's part. The meat of Injustice 2 is the fighting, of course, and combat in the game is definitely smooth and stylistic. All the characters given to us feel distinct in their movesets, no clones here. With a system less focused on learning overly complicated combos, and more focused on knowing your character and how to exploit the environment around you, Injustice 2 presents itself as a fighting game newcomers can easily enjoy. But with plenty of intricate ways for characters to mix up their fighting styles as well, it also seems as though it will be a game with enough depth that hardcore fighting game fans will be able to wrap their heads around it as well. There's a solid fighting game underneath here, something that is just as entertaining to watch as it is to play. Speaking of watching, Injustice 2 is definitely a pretty game to look at. Facial animations, for the most part, are well done, with characters able to express a wide range of emotions. While some of them may feel off, like I just think there's something weird about Catwoman's face, for example. Can't really put my finger on what. NetherRealm has honestly done an excellent job presenting some very expressive characters. Environments look crisp and pristine as well, and watching the stages you fight on become more broken as your fights drag on is a very nice touch. The cutscenes NetherRealm has made give us some action scenes from straight out of the comic books, with Injustice 2's super moves especially being consistently enjoyable to watch and just as over the top as we'd expect from comics. Equally over the top are the costumes your characters will be able to don as they beat the snot out of each other. Injustice 2 presents an impressive new gear system, allowing players to mix and match different costume pieces to grant their favorite fighters unique abilities. It really lets you grant your fighter that little extra bit of oomph that you could need to get out of a tough situation, be it in a player match or in Injustice 2's new Metaverse mode. Ranked players have nothing to fear, as gear does not affect ranked play. While it may be disappointing to some that you can't use your insane sword you got for Robin, at the end of the day in ranked, it's just skills that pay the bills. This new Metaverse mode deserves special mention, as it's where casual players will likely spend most of their time, and it's easily one of the most exciting new features added to Injustice 2. Metaverse mode gives players a bunch of different stages available at a time, with unique gimmicks on each of them for players to overcome. Maybe today's challenge can only be completed by Superman. Maybe you need to fight while icicles rain down from the sky. Maybe you have to fight at 5 times the normal battle speed. There's tons of different wacky factors in Metaverse mode, and with the available stages constantly changing, be it every few days, every few hours, or even every few minutes, there's always going to be a new challenge for players to tackle. In addition to the Metaverse stages you normally can get, there's also a specific Metaverse for your guild. Yes, a fighting game has a guild now. Your guild can go online and tackle challenges in your own Metaverse world, with more loot boxes earned for gear and buffs to apply to your characters to help them out. The guild's feature adds a pretty rare sense of camaraderie against the computer that's hard to find in most other fighting games. Despite all of these great things presented to us in this very polished package, Injustice 2 isn't perfect. The story mode ends up leaving a couple plot threads unresolved and hanging. While this is obvious sequel bait, it's a shame that such a fantastic story doesn't have as clean a wrap-up as the previous Injustice had. The gear system, while legitimately innovative, is presented in sort of a clunky fashion with the loot boxes. After finding several characters I actually wanted to progress and fight with, it led to me getting bogged down with a lot of useless gear for characters I didn't play. It's overall made receiving loot boxes a lot less exciting than I initially thought, and makes me wonder if the people who just threw money at the game for in-game credits to purchase them are having a better time decking out their main character than I am, despite all the work I've put into story mode and multiverse mode. Injustice 2 is also bogged down by several bugs, the most notable one being one that resets character progress. It's solved by simply restarting the PS4 or Xbox One, but it was especially jarring seeing my level 6 Robin get immediately demoted back to level 3 after an hour or so of fights. But despite these few shortcomings, Injustice 2 is an incredibly polished and well-presented fighting game, with a ton of content for both a single-player and multiplayer experience. Any fan of DC Comics, or fighting games, or both, would easily be satisfied by what NetherRealm has offered us. An excellent story, a great cast of characters, and a solid fighting system at its base, Injustice 2 is backed up by the new gear system and multiplayer modes, adding a ton of content to fill up a player's plate for a long time to come. Normally grinding for gear seems intimidating for a lot of people, but with Injustice 2, I don't mind suffering through the grind again to get a sick new mask for Sub-Zero when he's finally released. You can be confident that this score isn't coming to you guys from a DC fanboy. The Den of Nerds gives Injustice 2 a 9 out of 10. Fight on, guys. Now, we also took a look at Injustice 2 Mobile, and we're going to give you a quick little review of that experience as well. Overall, Injustice 2 Mobile seems more like a companion app than a full-fledged game. While the graphics are impressive, issues throughout the entire game ruin the experience. Unlike the base console game, connection issues are prevalent in Injustice 2 Mobile, so much so that PvP was almost impossible for me to check out. Long mission times, even going up to over 11 hours, inputs getting dropped when I had my screen protector on my phone, and occasional crashing were some of my biggest gripes with the game. Plus, in-game currency is earned at such a low rate, and the difficulty spikes so quickly, that it's almost impossible to advance at a reasonable pace without spending money. There are mobile games out there that are actually worth your time, make no mistake. Games like DBZ Dokkan Battle, Fire Emblem Heroes, and the upcoming Fate Grand Order. Injustice 2 Mobile is not one of these exceptional games. The Den of Nerds gives Injustice 2 Mobile a 4 out of 10. Pick up your free grid skin you get for linking the game, and move on. That is our review of Injustice 2 and Injustice 2 Mobile. As always, we hope you enjoyed this video. Like it if you did, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let us know if you want to see more of these game reviews or other gaming content. I sure love making videos like this. As always, I hope you're all having an awesome and nerdy day, and I'll catch you later.